Bitcoin just crashed and made a new low. All of these stock markets have been tanking, and this is exactly what we discussed on the channel. In today's important update, we'll be going over the recent Bitcoin price action. We'll also be talking about how the stock market has been affected by these tariffs, and we'll also discuss some potential trading opportunities. Is the low in? If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So we have to kick us off with Bitcoin. Finally, it's here. It feels like we've been talking about it for the longest time ever, that Bitcoin would be putting in a new low. A lot of you actually doubted that this was a possibility when we got this wick all the way down to right around 76.6K. And now at the time of recording this video, as you can see right over here, we have a big red candle for Bitcoin. We dipped as low as $74,400. So if you entered a short with yesterday's video, you're likely in significant profits. That's why I like trading this market, because you can make tons of money whether crypto goes up or down. That reminds me, if you want to trade this most recent volatile price action, you have to sign up with the first link in my description down below. You get a 50% deposit bonus for joining me, which means that if you deposit just $2,000 into your account, you get $1,000 back for trading purposes. And all you really need is an email and a password to sign up. It's the first link in my description down below. Take advantage of this volatility. So where could Bitcoin bottom? Now that we've finally set a new low, which feels like we've been talking about this for weeks and months now, there is a chance that we get a little bit of a reversal here. As we saw, we started getting bought up from the previous low. Now, my theory has always been that we would go ahead and retest the previous highs around $73,000, which we have not quite yet done. If we zoom out on this Bitcoin chart, we can see exactly what I'm talking about. The previous range high, when we had this long consolidation last year, the peak was right around $73,000. That's why I think it will be a major support level right around here. Also, there's tons of volume around this level as we broke out. Now, what is the bear market theory? Because a lot of people are calling for a bear market here, but as I said, I'm not willing to call that just yet, because currently what we can see from the top is that this is now, if I take both wicks, a 32% correction for Bitcoin. When you look at it like this, it really isn't that bad. It's altcoins that are suffering, of course, but really this is perfectly within the realms of possibility for a bull market if we are to continue. Historically, we have seen Bitcoin crash around this amount several times before going on up and moving higher. Now, for me to officially say that we are likely to enter a more sustained period of weakness for Bitcoin, it would be to break below 70K and get rejected as we try to move on up. So if Bitcoin falls below 70K and we end up visiting all the way down to this diagonal trend line, which is from the previous range, it would bring us all the way down to in the low 60Ks. That is the point in time where I'd be willing to confirm that it is indeed a bear market. But until then, we are approaching a very key support level. In fact, if we hover around this level for a little bit, I would definitely be considering a long on Bitcoin. Now, the question is, should you enter a short here targeting the lows in the first place? Personally, I think that it's already very risky to enter a short. The opportunity would have been yesterday, Sunday evening, as I told you that we would likely be moving lower. Now, I'm not panicking here because in terms of my spot position, I have already bought some Ethereum, as I shared in the Telegram community down below, and I also bought a little bit of Bitcoin. I will keep on buying these assets as we head lower. I am not panicking here. In terms of trading, we can make a ton of profit with this volatility. All you have to do is sign up to a reputable exchange like Weeks, deposit some money, and get started with trading. Because to me right now, crypto trading is the opportunity of a lifetime. You can literally make money whether we go up or down with leverage. Obviously, you need to manage your risk, and this is not financial advice, but this is just how I'm navigating these markets on a daily basis. Now, if we look at the stock market, naturally, we had a huge close, and we haven't seen Monday open yet, but I'm willing to bet that it will be red because the futures for the stock market have been red. Now, if I try to simplify this for you, the last time that the S&P 500 broke its 200-day moving average was right around here, January 2022. We broke below it, we tested it again, we got rejected, and then we broke down much, much lower. Now, what we can see here is that we got very much the same kind of price action. We broke below it here, we retested it, got rejected. Now, the question is, how much lower can we go? I think that it's still possible that we head lower and naturally crypto would be affected, but this is a pretty big capitulation, and it's likely that we start to get bought up at some point soon, which would be positive for crypto. And taking a look at Ethereum, guys, I just have to talk about this because we discussed it several weeks ago that I would start buying Ethereum once we went below the $1,600 level. Well, where are we at right now? $1,400, and I have already started dollar cost averaging into Ethereum as we go lower. This is the range where I'm really looking for it to hold as support. You might say, yeah, this is a big range, and there's a possibility that we can go as low as the low $1,000, and I would be buying more and more Ethereum should we go to those levels. Now, Bitcoin dominance, what can I say? I told you we were going to fill this wick, and it's looking more and more likely like we are going to fill that wick. As we can see, the wick is right around 64%, and we are seeing a lot of green for Bitcoin dominance. As I shared in my Telegram community, the one sure thing that you can bet on right now in terms of the crypto market is Bitcoin dominance going up, because there's not enough excess liquidity to go into altcoins, and people that want crypto exposure will be going to the king, Bitcoin, especially with all of this market uncertainty globally. The total crypto market cap, very much the same story. We are approaching a pretty key support level, so I would hope that this would hold. As we can see right now, we wicked near the bottom of this level, and the RSI is relatively oversold, but we can stay oversold for quite a while, so there is a chance that we move lower, especially if the stock market moves lower. And earlier today, it was absolute mayhem because a lot of markets hit their circuit breakers. Now, if you don't know what that means, it means that the markets essentially halt their trading temporarily. That includes China's market, the Taiwan market, Japan market, the Russell futures, Australian markets, and the Singapore market. The VIX also increased, which is a measure of volatility. Now we can see a ton of red. I don't need to go into this any deeper, but when the stock markets prevent you from selling, you know that things are bad. And if we take a look at crypto in particular, over $1.4 billion liquidated from the crypto market in the past 24 hours. Is the worst of it over? I'm willing to bet that we will likely go a little bit lower. I saw quite a bit of negative comments when Bitcoin pumped from this level all the way up to around $88,000 when I said that we would be moving lower. But here we are, we moved lower. So if you didn't have any exposure to crypto, right now would be an interesting time to start dollar cost averaging. Now, I'm not telling you that the low is in. In fact, I do still think that it's possible that we move a little bit lower. But right now, we are trying to hold this previous wick as support, and I still think that it's likely that we tap into the 73K level, especially if stocks continue to tank. But I'm not stressing because this is a great long-term accumulation level for Bitcoin. Now, the funny part about all of this is that Jim Cramer actually predicted a stock market crash similar to the 1987 collapse known as Black Monday, and I talked about this in yesterday's video. I was kind of joking because most of the time this guy is wrong, but you know that something is seriously wrong when this guy is right. And taking a look at MicroStrategy, I just wanted to touch on this because I find it very interesting that there has been no news of MicroStrategy buying some more Bitcoin. It just doesn't make sense to me. They acquired 0 Bitcoin between March 31st and April 6th. And if we look at the Saylor tracker, what we can see here is that he's currently only 13% in profit from all of his Bitcoin buys, which is pretty bad considering he started buying Bitcoin right around the $10,000 level. You would hope that he would be in much more profit, and you would have hoped that he would have saved a lot of these buys around the 100K region for when we were to dip lower. Like right now would be a good time for Michael Saylor to buy some Bitcoin. But unfortunately, it's just not the case, and he's really not that much in profit. Now, what is going to happen today? The Fed is actually about to hold a closed-door meeting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. On the agenda is to review discounted rates. This might be nothing, or it might be the first real pivotal signal. Let's see what comes out of this. But in the meantime, Trump is saying that there's no inflation, and we can see what he said on Truth Social. Oil prices are down, interest rates are down, the slow-moving Fed should cut rates. Food prices are down, there is no inflation, and the long time abused USA is bringing in billions of dollars a week from the abusing countries on tariffs that are already in place. This is despite the fact that the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raised its tariffs by 34%, on top of its long-term ridiculously high tariffs, not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate. They've made enough for decades, taking advantage of the good old USA. Our past leaders are to blame for allowing this and so much else to happen to our country. Make America great again. It really seems like he's not standing off here, and he wants the Fed to cut rates. He wants to force Jerome Powell's hand. Let's see what happens this week. Maybe Jerome Powell will finally fold, or maybe we will start to see a couple more deals in terms of the tariffs to remove some of those extremely high percentages. But I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. Is the low in for Bitcoin, or will we be going much lower? And the last thing that I want to wrap up this video with is 3 questions to ask yourself when you want to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. 1, will Bitcoin be at a higher price by the end of the year? In my opinion, very likely. Will Bitcoin be at a higher valuation in 5 years' time? Very likely, in my opinion, once again. And finally, where do you think Bitcoin will be in a decade from now? That's why I always reiterate, you need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, especially for your spot Bitcoin bag. It's perfectly fine to short the market and accumulate Bitcoin along the way. That's exactly what I've been doing with a lot of my profits. Again, if you want to trade this market, sign up with the first link in my description down below, bringing you directly to Weeks. Great bonuses and a great place to trade and dollar cost average into Bitcoin if that interests you. That sums up today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.